This is probably one of the most fascinating individual World War II stories I've ever read about. I've heard of people who have lied about their age to enlist in World War II before, but nobody who was only 12. But it's more than just about the age. It's also about the fact he fought in one of the most brutal naval campaigns of the war, and the fact he was found out and had to suffer the consequences. Then his decades-long fight for recognition. This is the incredible story of Calvin Leon Graham. Calvin grew up in a family of 7 children in a small East Texas town, where life was tough, and home was made harder by an abusive stepfather. His father passed away when he was young, and he faced hardships that forced him to mature quickly. By the age of 11, Calvin had decided he'd had enough, and struck out on his own. Moving into a boarding house, he scraped together a living by selling newspapers during the day and delivering telegrams by night. Calvin was just 12 when he embarked on a journey that would make him the youngest known American to serve in World War II. Calvin was deeply inspired by the stories of heroism coming out of Europe and the Pacific. When news broke of the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, he became resolved to join the military. Calvin went to lengths to create an illusion of maturity. He adopted a confident stance and practiced deepening his voice, hoping to mask his high-pitched tone. When he needed his mother's signature to complete the enlistment papers, he forged it. But he hit another snag. The documents had to be notarized. Calvin and a few friends found a way around it by taking advantage of a local innkeeper who kept a notary stamp at his front desk. The kids invented a story about a fire on one of the hotel's upper floors, and as the innkeeper dashed upstairs to check, they grabbed the notary stamp, sealing Calvin's place in the Navy. After training, he was assigned as an anti-aircraft gunner on the USS South Dakota. His ship was assigned to a task force with the USS Enterprise and sent to Guadalcanal. His first action saw his ship engage enemy aircraft, with the South Dakota shooting down 26 enemy planes during the Battle of Santa Cruz. 3 weeks later, the South Dakota was involved in the infamous Naval Battle of Guadalcanal, a brutal 4-day naval battle which cost the lives of thousands of men and dozens of warships sank. During this engagement, the South Dakota was hit 26 times, with 39 killed and dozens more wounded. Calvin was one of the wounded. While bringing a message to another officer, he was sent to face an arm with shrapnel. Despite his wounds, he spent the evening tending to the more severely wounded as the South Dakota limped away from the battle, unable to continue the fight. In his own words, "I took belts off the dead and made tourniquets for the living. It was a long night. It aged me." His actions on the South Dakota were heroic by any standard, let alone for a person who was only 12. He was awarded a Bronze Star for his bravery and a Purple Heart for his wounds. Calvin's mother recognized him on a newsreel as the stricken ship was videoed while returning to Brooklyn Navy Yard for repairs. She complained to the Navy that her son was only 12, thus too young to serve. They responded by throwing Calvin in the brig for 3 months. They stripped him of his medals and gave him a dishonorable discharge, meaning he could not access his disability benefits. So before he even reached the age of 13, Calvin enlisted in the Navy, fought in one of the most brutal and infamous naval battles of the war, was injured, won a Bronze Star, and then was dishonorably discharged. But his incredible story doesn't end there. Instead of returning to school, Calvin got a job in a shipyard, and he continued to speedrun through life achievements. He got married at 15, became a father, then divorced at 17. Calvin, not even old enough yet to vote, has already been through more of life than many people would ever go through, and he's not done yet. Calvin joined the Marines in 1947 at the age of 17, but in 1951 he fell from a pier and broke his back, ending his military career. Serving in the Marines qualified him as a veteran, but he would spend decades fighting for full medical benefits and for his military record to be reinstated. In the 1970s, with widespread media attention, Calvin's story struck a chord with the American public, who sympathized with the boy soldier's sacrifice and the raw courage he displayed in a war that took so much from so many. There was even a TV movie made about him, Too Young, the Hero. In 1978, with the help of 2 Texas senators who supported his cause, his story was brought before President Jimmy Carter, who reversed his dishonorable discharge and reinstated his medals except for his Purple Heart. It wasn't until 1994 that his Purple Heart was reinstated, but the medal was presented to his widow as unfortunately Calvin died on November 6, 1992 from heart failure. He is buried at Laurel Land Memorial Park in Fort Worth, Texas. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Odd Historian. If you want to see a video about another soldier who lied about his age when enlisting and who became one of the most decorated US soldiers ever, check out this video. See you next time.